The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 9, What Happened and What's Going On. I gotta admit, I think this was a pretty surprising mid-season premiere because, I don't know who expected us to lose, yet another character this season. I mean, we lost Beth in the mid-season finale. The last thing I was expecting was for us to lose a character in the mid-season premiere. And, of course, I was hopeful. Like, there are a couple of things that happened in the comic books. We've even seen it in this show itself. They've done it where characters have been bit and, they cut off the limb fast enough. They saved that person. And in this case, I think it was kind of a mix of, them chopping his arm off and it having been a little bit too long to begin with. And it just kind of culminated, unfortunately, in the death of Tyrese. And that really sucked. I like Tyrese's character. We lost 3 people this season so far, and it's crazy to think, like, I do believe that's, like, the highest number of characters we've lost in one season. I could be wrong, but typically it's, like, 1 person a season, maybe 2, depending on how crazy some stuff gets. But even when the prison was actually attacked, I don't think we lost a single character. And, it's like the aftermath of that is what's really terrible. We've lost so many different characters. We lost Beth in the last episode. We lost Bob earlier this season, which really sucked because that was really surprising for me because he was such a new character. And Tyrese has been in it. I think this maybe it's season 5, so I guess it was his second season. But it's still really early. A season and a half isn't a long time. And, we're losing these characters, and it was really surprising. And this episode in general was very different than what we normally see. They had a lot of different cuts, and they reused a lot of footage in a good way. It wasn't like it seemed cheap, like they kept re-showing footage. But it was shown in a really good way, and it was actually very well done. And very misleading, too, because in the beginning, when they had the scene at the graveyard, I initially thought, I think like everyone, like, oh, of course this is for Beth. This is kind of like the more immediate scene, and they're kind of showing bits and pieces of that. And then kind of the in-between stuff, like them going from the hospital to wherever they're going to end up next, and them traveling and, running around really fast and seeing all these clips and things like that. And, we see that these clips that are kind of just jumbled together actually have a place within the narrative of this episode. And it was just very interesting. I didn't expect, like I said, Tyrese to be bit. I figured, the shadow behind him, I honestly thought it was Noah, because they do that in this show so much. It's like it's either going to be a zombie and the person turns around in time, or it's not going to be a zombie at all and it's actually one of the living characters that's just really blurry and you can't see them. So I actually thought in this case, like, oh, it seems like it's going to be a zombie, but it's going to be Noah. And the main reason I thought that was because they were in the house and they established the fact that the zombie was behind that door. And, the last thing I was thinking was he's probably in a room that connects to the bathroom, which connects to, his twin's bedroom. And that's exactly what happened. And it kind of caught me off guard. It was like that, that could easily happen. You wouldn't think about just simple stuff like, the layout of a building. Like, okay, there's zombies behind the door. I'm perfectly fine. That's all there is to it. And that's pretty much what happened to Tyrese, who saw the zombie behind the door. He saw the other twin was already dead in the bed. And so he's just looking around because it's like, well, the other one's locked up. Unfortunately, Noah's mother is dead in the living room, so there's no other threat. And he was bit, and that's what happened. And then, of course, there was another zombie that came out of nowhere as well, which I guess technically is another thing. Like, even if the rooms weren't connected, you never really know. Like, you never know what's in what room. There could have easily been like 4 zombies in the bathroom, and we just never would have known. But it was really surprising. And after he was bit, it was definitely an interesting, series of events that Tyrese went through with the hallucinations and seeing all these various characters that have died. And, we got good characters, bad characters. And it's just Tyrese kind of wondering, like, did this happen the right way? Did I cause this to happen by trying to distance myself from the violence and things like that? Am I weak or am I wrong for kind of forgiving Carol for what she did and stuff like that? And him, going through it and having these two halves battle, like, you screwed up, and then the other side of him saying, like, this is just how it was going to be no matter what. And you have to kind of be at peace with that before you go. And it was just interesting to watch. It was really cool to see all these different characters come back, from, I think, obviously going all the way back, it was pretty cool. Like, we got Beth, we got Bob, we got, like, the random guy that Tyrese actually let live. We got the sisters. Yeah, I can't even think of his name right now, but, the guy with the eye patch, the bad guy, obviously. I can't think, the governor, there it is. I couldn't think of his name for some reason, but, we even had him come back. And it was cool to see all these different people who have died either in, this season, just past episodes, or in past seasons. And it was just really interesting to watch. It was definitely cool to see sort of, it was kind of easy to how they separated. Like, the bad guys were basically the ones saying, like, you screwed up or you were weak for doing this or that. And basically the heroes, or at least sort of in between for, one of the sisters, they were the ones saying, like, hey, you did the right thing, or you couldn't control it because that's just how it was meant to be. And you have to accept that it's okay now. Like, it's even better now that it's happening, because really there's no other outcome. This is how it's going to be. So you've reached the end of the journey, so now it's going to be even better than, kind of experiencing the journey. So I love the episode for sure. I feel like there isn't too much to say. It was just, the episode itself was just really well done. It was very interesting. Like I said, the cuts and how they did things with repeating imagery and things like that, and showing stuff from the beginning that I feel like everyone probably assumed that was for Beth. Like, that's what you would expect. They start off, it's them having the funeral. They don't cover the entire thing. They just have a part of it, and then kind of what happens immediately after that with them having to move on and stuff like that. And then we find out that really that was all, some of the stuff was from the middle. A lot of it was from the end of the episode, and them trying to get Tyrese back and trying to save him, and then unfortunately having the ceremony for him because he couldn't be saved. But it was definitely a great episode. It was, of course, unfortunate, Noah having to experience his family being killed, and kind of his entire community being taken out by the zombies as well when he got back there. And that was a well-acted scene, I thought. That was done really well. And when they first went in, and he just breaks down and he just falls to the ground. I thought that was a pretty convincing scene. I thought it was well done. And then, him going into his house and stuff, and having to go in because he kind of needs to see what's in there, despite the fact that he doesn't, really want to. So it was definitely a great episode. I'm excited for the next one. It seems like they're gonna be going to Washington, so they have a set destination, of course, based on the comics, and based on, even if I had never read the comics, just based on the series, I can only assume they are going to get to Washington. If they do, then it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But this was definitely a great episode, a great, start back up to the season. Very sad, losing yet another character this season, and it made me think, like, they aren't being nice to the fans this season. They're being serious. Like, some people just die, and that's how it is. With Beth, in Beth's case, it was like just a crazy accident that happened. In Tyrese's case, it was just him being bit in a normal, unsafe situation, and we got to see, like, kind of the opposite sides of things, where her death was very blunt and just shocking for people, and like, you kind of saw it coming a couple seconds before, but other than that, it was like everything's going well, and then it just happens, and it kind of shocks people. And in this episode, of course, the initial act of him being bit, that's, shocking no matter which character it is, because you never really expect it or even want it. But in this one, it was definitely sort of the slow build, I guess, to his final moments, and just him contemplating and hallucinating and seeing the characters. And even during those scenes, the editing was very well done, like when the governor was coming towards him and then it flipped and it was actually a zombie coming at him. That was very well edited. I love that scene. The part where the girls were grabbing onto his hand and then it changed and it was actually Rick, so that they could chop his arm off. I thought that was pretty cool. I just like the way they edited those scenes. But it was definitely a great episode, of course. I want to know what you guys thought, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And what did you guys think about losing Tyrese in this episode? Like, did you expect it? Did you not expect it? Did you think that maybe they would be able to save him if they cut his arm off? Because I think everyone was kind of hoping that, because like I said, we've seen that in the show before. They did it a long time ago, and they I can't think of the guy's name, but unfortunately the governor chopped his head off. But you know, they chopped his leg off and they saved him and he survived. And I kind of thought this would be a way for them to, even though it was Tyrese's entire arm, it was kind of the way for them to take what happened to Rick in the comic books and do it to a different character. Because in the comics, Rick lost his hand way before this. I think he lost his hand during the prison stuff. They chopped his hand clean off. There was like no zombie stuff or anything like that. The governor just was a douchebag in the comics and was just like a straight up villain. It was just like nope, and just chopped his hand off for no reason. And I thought kind of that's what was going to happen in this episode. It would kind of take the place of that happening, and even though, like I said, it would be an entire arm and not just his hand. But I was really hoping he'd survive because, you know, we already lost two characters. I like Tyrese. I like all the characters. I don't want anyone to get killed off. I wouldn't like want to pick and choose like who lives and who dies. But you know, when we've already lost two characters, and we even lost a character in the very last episode, you know, we wait like 2 months or something to come back to the show, and it's like, all right, we got The Walking Dead, and then right in the mid-season premiere, just after a devastating mid-season finale, we lose yet another character. So it really sucked, but it was definitely a great episode, and it's obviously going to have yet another huge impact on the characters. Having lost two people, really three people so close, because the distance between losing Bob and losing Beth, that was, you know, even for us, that was only, I think, 2 or 3 episodes. So, you know, they've lost like 3 people within like 6 or 7 episodes, and that's not a lot. So, you know, it's just been a crazy season so far. We've been losing people, you know, seemingly left and right, now that we've gone up to like 3 main characters being killed off in one season. But it's definitely a great episode, and like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.